Hi there, welcome to this month's market update. Slightly delayed in filming as we awaited the result of the general election. I want to give you, as always, an update of what's happened in the last month, so what happened in June, and give you some thoughts about how we see the market changing now that we have, of course, had that historic result. Before I do that, please hit the subscribe button, I always ask, and even more importantly, hit the like button. It really does make a difference to us. So the month of June, this was a month that we were nervous about, to be fair. The general election had been called, so we had the run into that. England, of course, are slowly but maybe not so surely making their way through the Euros. We've had finally some good weather. So all of that combined, we thought would make June a really difficult month, as history has often taught us that can be the case. But it wasn't really that bad. So June of this year saw a 5% reduction in the number of properties coming to market. And when I say this, I'm looking at the whole of market, courtesy some data from 20 EA plus our own data as well. Now, 5% reduction in instructions is not great, but then when you look at that compared to the whole of the year, we're still way ahead of where we were by this time in 2023. So about 29% higher than we were at this time last year. When we look at the number of sales agreed, again, they fell slightly in the month of June compared to last year, but it was literally by like 1%. There was nothing in it at all. And again, when we look at this year so far, like 37% higher on the number of sales agreed across the market from where we were at this time last year. And those are some phenomenal results. Then when we look at our own data, I can layer into that the number of buyers that we've registered. So the number of buyers registered in June of this year was actually 6% higher than it was in June of last year. That's a very good sign that the market has got a good underlying level of demand, and combine that with then the number of viewings that we carried out, that was 17% higher than last year. And all of that, as I say, is against that backdrop of uncertainty. So if you go back and you look at the run into the 2019 general election before Boris got in, we saw then the market really suffer in the month of November prior. Go back even further and look at the election that was held in June of 2017. That was the one when Theresa May got in. Again, we saw the market literally almost fall off the edge of a cliff at that time. That was a really uncertain moment. So usually those months in the run into those elections can be quite challenging. So the fact that June of 2024 was not quite like that, I think gives us an idea of what we might expect to happen moving forward. So the question is, what do we expect to happen in the coming months for the rest of this year and beyond? As the title of the video suggests, are we expecting a Starmer Surge? Well, this is one of the questions that we have to answer. And let me give you a little bit of a history lesson, I guess, and the evidence that suggests exactly where we might be heading. So let's look again at those last two elections. So the first one was in December of 2019, and that was when Boris Johnson was elected with a huge majority. And we then had what was known as the Boris bounce that came off the back of that. The country had got the result that they wanted and the environment was great. We had a flurry of activity in the months that followed in January and February of 2020. And of course, the only thing that derailed all of that was the pandemic, which of course created an issue with activity, as we all know, and lots of other things as well. And the rest, as they say, is history from there. If we then go back and look at that other date, so June of 2017, so that was not a clear result. So Theresa May won that election, but won it with a minority government that had to form a coalition with the DUP. And on the back of that, we found that the months that followed that election result were really some of the most challenging that we'd seen for some years. So without a clear result, often we can have a very big problem. Now, on the basis that we've got what the country wanted this time round, so we have a Labour government, Keir Starmer in power with a huge majority and clearly some very proactive thoughts about what they want to do to fix some of the issues that we've got, you would think that the country will have a very positive attitude towards all of that. And so that's the first piece of evidence that I would think will allow the market, the property market, to keep moving. The second thing, and this is sort of related to what's just gone on with the general election, is that mortgage rates are starting to fall. We are seeing now evidence that Bank of England looks like they're going to reduce rates in August. Inflation is coming under control and mortgage rates on the back of all of that are starting to fall. There was a load of headlines last week about how rates are reducing by up to 0.5% and things of that sort. So again, with funding costs reducing, plus confidence in what the government hopefully will do, you would think that everything points towards a really strong end last 6 months to this year. In addition, what I'm quite excited about is that from a government point of view, they seem keen to try and make sure that they change policy and right some of the wrongs of the last decade or so. They've committed to starting to build again. 1.5 million homes in the next election term, so in the next 5 years, would take us back to that 300,000 build target. And we desperately, desperately do need to get Britain building again. And all those things combined, to me, suggest that we could be on the cusp of a bit of price movement in the market. I think we could be starting to look at whether or not prices will maybe push up in the last 6 months or so of this year. Beyond that, we'll have to keep an eye on what the government are doing, whether or not they can start to fulfill all the promises that they've said, whether they keep and create that positive feeling that we've got at the moment. The other thing that we're of course waiting for is to see a good result in the US presidential election, which looks like a bit of a mess at the moment. But often the destiny of the US can be linked to the fortunes of the rest of the world because it's such a huge economy. So again, we'll wait and see in November exactly what that has in store for us. In the meantime, please keep in touch with us through these update videos. I film them every single month. If you're thinking about making that move, we're here 8 AM till 8 PM, 7 days a week. We'd love to talk to you about how we can help you move. And thanks, as always, for watching.